Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Red Reaction from the LFC Daytrippers. It's our post-game show after Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. I'm your host, Keith, tonight, and joining me is Avy. Avy, how are you?
Yeah, good. Keith could be a lot better, but yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and you know yourself. The main man, Grizz Khan, is with us again. How are you,
All right,
Grizz?
Keith.
I'm great, Grizz. I'm great.
Not brilliant. Not
Forget
brilliant,
about the
Keith.
match.
Not
I
brilliant.
watched the great episode of Building the Dream earlier. You know, it was very interesting. So, you know.
Oh yeah, what's that about?
Yeah, it's building houses. You know, it's you build your dream house and all that. So,
are you serious, Keith? I thought it was about some like serial murderers or something.
No.
Not for you, no. Fucking building
I love
houses.
all that sort of stuff, but building the dream, I'm in one of them sort of moods.
Yeah, I'm trying to build a Liverpool squad that's going to take on the Premier League next season at the moment.
That's it. That's what I'm trying to get all the tips I can, you know, on how to build the perfect house. But Peter Smith, all the way, my friend in sunny Catalonia. How are you, Pete?
Good evening, Keith. Good evening.
Great
we got Pete from sunny Catalonia, and we got little ants in his pants from California over there, right? And then there's me and you from the British Isles. Amazing.
Well, whoa, hold on.
Sorry, of course. Whoa,
multiculti.
Blasphemous there, nearly there. British Isles. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Sunny Dublin, mate. Sunny Dublin. But anyway,
sunny Dublin, mate.
Enough of that. We're going to get on to the match. I'm going to get on and I'm going to talk about the game as it goes on. We all know it's not a great night, but we'll move on to that. I just want to start. I'm wearing my Ian St. John jersey tonight in memory of the great man who sadly passed away. And Ian St. John is a player who, well, maybe not the best player in Liverpool's history, is such an important player in Liverpool's history because it was Ian St. John and Ron Yates coming down with Bill Shankly that really put us on the road to what we are now. And he's been a very vocal part of the club over the years. You know, he's always been in and thereabouts. Unlike maybe, you know, a strike partner, Roger Hunt, who was a better player than him. But Ian St. John has been the more visible and more vocal of that forward line. And he sadly passed away. You know, people were a bit upset that we didn't do it about Ray Clements when he passed on. But look, we said tonight we'll just have a little word on Ian St. John. As I said, he was such an important player to Shankly to build what we have now. And he was also, I'm sure all of us will agree, he was a stalwart of our Saturday TV with Jimmy Greaves growing up. You know, Saint and Greaves, he would have been one of the top football shows. It was Soccer AM before Soccer AM was a thing. So, lads, does anyone want to say anything about the late great Ian St. John?
Well, for me, I mean, you know, obviously we're all a bit young to remember him as a player. We've all got the DVDs, you know, a smashing centre forward, you know. But for me, I'm more focused on the St. and Greavesy years. Those are my first football memories, and it harks back to a day when, in order to get your own TV show, you know, on mainstream television, you had to have walked the walk before you could talk the talk. And certainly a man like Ian St. John, alongside another legend, Jimmy Greaves, certainly did that. So for me, there's too many people on the television now that, quite frankly, don't know what they're saying and aren't qualified to talk about the game. This man knew the game. It's a big loss.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah, just echoing Peter's words. Obviously, I was way too young. I sort of caught the back end of like St. and Greavesy, but I think he was one of Shankly's first signings, and while they were still in the second division as well. So, you know, he sort of saw that original sort of overhaul, and you hear the stories and you've seen the videos, We Are Liverpool, when he's, you know, he plays a great part in it, and he talks about Shankly and he tears up, which gets quite emotional. But yeah, no, a pivotal figure in our football club.
Indeed. What about you, Grizz? If you wanted to say about Ian St. John? Just
absolutely echoing what you guys have said. And again, just Saturday afternoons, I think it was around midday or 1 o'clock, the show used to be on. This magnificent show, you know, part of my childhood. You know, the funny thing is, whilst I was watching those shows growing up, I didn't really know what Ian St. John was all about, if you know what I mean. Like in terms of what he meant to Liverpool, what he had done for Liverpool. So it was more of just a double act with him and Greavesy, and you think they were ex-players, and I didn't know the significance of it until you get older and you look into the history of Liverpool. Magnificent man, apparently. magnificent character, and that laugh, you know, rest in peace. That he had an amazing, infectious, loud laugh, and sadly, God taking him away. So rest in peace, Ian St. John.
Yeah. Indeed, and very similar to Emlyn Hughes actually when he was on A Question of Sport. They were figures that you don't maybe at the time you didn't realise their importance and their ability. Well, as Grizz just said, rest in peace, Ian St. John. From everyone here at the LFC Daytrippers, lads, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the match now tonight. It wasn't a great performance. We'll talk about it. We'll have a lot of people upset about the game. We'll have a lot of people in the chat, I'm sure, delighted with the game. They won't be Liverpool fans, I'm sure, but we'll deal with that. That's the take the licks and take the digs.
Absolutely.
At the moment. This is where we are. But Grizz, I'm going to start with you. The lineup comes out. What did you make of it?
It seems as though Phillips was injured, and so therefore had to drop out because he wasn't even on the bench, was he?
Yeah. No.
So you just laugh when you hear news like that. Now you have to, like, if you don't laugh, you have to cry. There has to be because there has to be an outpouring of emotion, right? When you hear shit like this, like Pete, it's true, right? What I'm saying, you got to laugh or you got to cry. You can't sit there numb and just like that, because then people think you're mad, right? Because there's no reaction, So you got to pour, there has to be an outpouring of emotion. I lulled, but then you think to yourself, Fabinho, all right, experienced, gets back into the team. A lot of clamour for him, including from me, to go back into the central midfield, but needs must. He had to go back centre back. The rest of the team, Jota's not quite ready. I really enjoyed his cameo again. He's not right ready, so you expect that. Could there have been a recall for Naby? Could there have been a start or energy or something different from Ox? No, but Naby maybe. Naby was brilliant against them the last time we played them at Anfield. The rest of the team picked itself. It was a case of have to get up for this and let's try to put on a show again. But from the very start, I just didn't see the energy in this team. And my worst fears about Fabinho, and I think, I'm not sure who mentioned it. I think was it you? No, you don't talk in the WhatsApp when you're concentrating on the game. Someone said something about Fabinho's a very slow starter after injury when he returns from injury.
It's a great point.
It takes him a few games, and whoa, I will get onto it.
Ramez Khalil's thrown in a super chat. Thanks very much, Ramez. Absolutely diabolical, horrendous performance, terrible tactics, horrible lineup, shocking substitutions, crap refereeing, top four is a pipe dream now. Look, we're all upset, we're all feeling the pain of a defeat, another defeat at Anfield, but we'll talk about all these issues as the show goes on, Ramez. We'll deal with them all sort of as they happen. Don't worry, we will be talking about them. Thanks for the super chat and the support, but try not to be too down. We try to be as fair and balanced on this show. We're not going to be shying away from any of the big moments, but it's never as bad as you think. But Peter, I want to come to you. Did you think the lineup could have been any different, or was there anything that you feel could have been maybe changed, or is it a case of the hands are tied at the moment and just get the 11 on the pitch?
Listen, I'm very envious of Manchester City. With the depth of squad that they have, you make a point there, and it's probably the most apt. Hands are certainly tied. I agree with Grizz talking about Fabinho coming in, but then you're looking at the 20th new defensive partnership. I mean, it's not sustainable. Football for me is about three things. Well, it's about a lot of things, but momentum, confidence, and leadership. We don't have any momentum, obviously. Leadership, we're now shorn of Henderson. You look around the park, there's a lot of side-to-side passing going on. There's a lot of fellas. The football, the ball itself is like a hot potato. Nobody wants to take responsibility for doing anything penetrative. And confidence, it's just shot to bits. The lads are walking out at Anfield and they're thinking to themselves, you can see, I don't want to be here. A lot of them, I'm afraid to lose here. It's the first time in the history of the club, I think, that we've lost 5 games on the bounce at home. Listen, the only thing I'd say, Klopp is untouchable. untouchable. And there's lots of shouts on stupid forums and stupid, Twitter talking about Klopp. Listen, this man, I don't care what happens. People have short memories in this game. These are extenuating, exceptional circumstances. I don't care what happens. You know what I mean? That man is untouchable. But we're in the kind of rut that is, it's very, very difficult to get out of. As for the lineup, no. I mean, if Keita didn't start, and I know where Grizz is going with this, there's a reason. So many people saying this fella should start, but this ain't FIFA. It's not Championship Manager. These guys are being watched day to day. If he's ready, like he obviously was, to go into the first Chelsea game when he absolutely destroyed him, you saw the player he is. He's obviously not ready to deliver that. I think we're unlucky. To be honest, possibly I felt that maybe if Phillips had been fit, maybe we would have got a surprise and you would have seen Fabinho back in the midfield, and that could have made a difference. But it's coulda, woulda, shoulda, to be honest with you. I think he picked the lineup and it was pretty strong, considering what we have.
Yeah, another super chatting there from Christopher Scott. Thanks very much, Christopher. Tonight's performance was simply not good enough. Injuries are no excuse. The team on the pitch was good enough to get something out of the game. Some of them need to take a look at themselves. It's a very fair point. And once again, we will look at that. Avy, I'm going to come to you. Christopher makes the point that the players on the pitch were good enough. Did you feel that when you saw the team lining up and you saw how Chelsea were lining up? Did you think were you expecting more out of that lineup? Maybe is where I'm trying to get that. Were you happy with it?
I thought after the Sheffield United result, I thought maybe finally we've turned the corner, and with the lineup today, Phillips, he was obviously out because he wasn't even in the squad, was he? So the other option was to put Fabinho there, because I don't think you can put Reece there anymore. And then you think maybe, like Liverpool will turn up, the tempo, we'll start carving chances, and maybe we'll get back to our sort of former self, before the Christmas period. But unfortunately, no. I just do want to touch upon something, and we might touch upon it later on. There's a lot of shouts on Twitter. That's why I blocked Twitter off the match, when we lose. A lot of Klopp outs. And just echoing what Peter just quickly said, he's over-delivered in the last 5 years at this football club, right? Arsene Wenger, Alex Ferguson, Rafa Benitez, the managers that have graced the Premiership, Pep Guardiola, have not done what Jurgen Klopp's done in his first 5 years. 2 European Cup finals, the League, the Super Cup, the World Cup Championship. We need a bit of perspective here, right? He doesn't get millions of money each season to spend on big players and whatnot. He is doing what he can. He's been through a lot emotionally. This team has gone through something out of the extraordinary this season, right? Let's not forget what this team's done in the last 3 years. It's just been an emotional roller coaster. This season hasn't helped since that Everton game, since the injuries and whatnot, and personal issues as well. So we just need to be a bit patient with this team. I just wanted to say that because it's really getting to me with all these shouts that Klopp out. Without Klopp, we wouldn't have won the league, right? We would have been waiting another 32, 33, 4 years. So let's have
I agree. I agree with the Klopp out shouts, and I don't really take them seriously, and neither should you.
I thought you were saying you agree with the shouts at Klopp out.
No. Just look. You're my younger brother, right, Avy? And I would advise you to ignore people like that. Why are you even listening? Why are you even reading something? That means you're reading on this wrong page. You're on the wrong page. You're following the wrong people. That shouldn't have been entertained. But saying all that, he's absolutely untouchable, as Pete and you have said, and there's nothing he can do that would ever 100% for this season, ever, or even next season, sort of Klopp out, entertain any shouts like that. But Avy, he was awful today. His management, his decision making, his substitutions, his tactics, he was awful today, 100%. I need to say this because that's how I feel. Because if I just keep bottling my emotion in and say, everything's rosy, he's done brilliant. We all know, except the loonies, what he's done for us. We all know what he's done for us. We all know he's overachieved. We all know this is a mad mental season. It's an anomaly. It's mad. You can't cater for it. But there is no way any Liverpool team should be losing 5 on the spin at Anfield. Any Liverpool team. Especially, Chelsea you could excuse. Man City, these are caliber of teams that potentially are some of the best in Europe. But look at the other 3 teams we've lost to in Europe. And this as a package, 5 losses at home is just not good enough, Avy. It's just not good enough. So we can't just talk about the past all the time. And we know up to now that this is crazy. It's mental season. But I just feel, you know, he is feeling the pressure. And it has to be aired. There's nothing wrong with it being aired that he is feeling the pressure.
Grizz, I'm going to stop you there, right? So Ramez puts another super chat in. Thanks again, Ramez. I don't mean to be too negative, but it's hard not to be. I love Klopp, but repeating the same thing and expecting different results is madness. Subbing Salah and keeping Mane and Firmino on, we're having a shocker. We're going to come to that in a few minutes. We are going to deal with all the incidents in the game. So look, we'll deal with them as they come up. But lads, I'm going to move on, right? So the game starts very early on, Pete. Liverpool look to be, you know, there's nothing much happening, but Liverpool are trying to move it around as you'd expect at home. They're not off to a great start, but they're trying to shift it about. There's an early incident where the ball is pinged into Sadio Mane and he turns, I think it's Christensen.
It doesn't go down.
And he doesn't go down. Now, you know, you can advocate staying on your feet all you want and being honest all you want, but is there a thing? He done the same against Sheffield United when he got taken out by Ethan Ampadu, when, you know, there's contact, it's a reckless tackle, and he stays on his feet for the ball to trickle out for a goal kick. Does Mane need to be, you know, if everyone else is being clever in this, does Mane need to be clever, or is it just a case of the instruction is telling them not to bother?
No. I think players are human, Keith, and like anything else, when things aren't going well, and when things are going fantastically well, you don't listen to anyone. You know, you close ranks and you're like, listen, we're just going to keep doing what we do, and we're going to keep steamrolling people. And this lot, their heads are falling off because we keep doing this. But when things aren't going well, everybody starts to get insecure and listen to what's being said. And I genuinely think that maybe things are getting inside Mane, Salah, Firmino's even head, in terms of everyone's calling you a diver, everyone's saying you go down really easy. And you know what your own thought process is like when you're doing your job. You know, if people keep saying things to you, it's the same with the referees, the same with everybody. You'll tend to say in that split second, no, I won't go down, you know, because everybody's bloody well saying it. You know, it's, for me, I just think there's an awful lot of people, you know, they call it mind games for a reason. It's not non-existent. These players, just because they're paid huge amounts of money, they're not immune to that game and to that end, to the psychological end of the game. They're actually quite susceptible to it. So, yeah, I mean, certainly I thought the Sheffield United incident is a penalty if he decides to go down. And it's like that now, though. It's just, that's the way it is. Everyone's talking about it, so fellas are starting to react because the confidence isn't there. When you're confident, things are flowing, you just do what you normally do. I can see lads not trusting themselves, not trusting what they had been trusting for the last 2-3 years. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust each other. There's a lot of individuals, it looks to me, you know, just trying not to make the mistake that loses the game. So, and I think it stems from that, to be honest.
Pete, I think you're spot on there about the confidence and the trusting of themselves, and especially in the forward areas. But I mean, you got to do. The coach has got to do something about that, then, Pete, because maybe they need some time out of the firing line, maybe, and things can't get worse at home. Like they literally can't get any worse at home. So if he was to sort of play something different and look, we've been creative at the back in terms of changing things around personnel. Well, when I say creative, we've had to be creative at the back. I just don't think we've been creative in terms of, barring a couple of games going forward. You know, change it around, give them a different role, give them a different idea. It's got to stem from the coach. I agree. The players look shot. They look good. They got, you know, Mane, that I mean, your brain sometimes stops working. Like that was a blatant foul contact. You go down, and that's a penalty in the first couple of minutes, or was it, or something? Yeah, first 10 minutes. That your brain stops working. The rest of your game plan goes to pot as well, like this. You know. Again, he's just running into dead avenues. Lot of stick for Bobby. But Mane's been probably the worst attacker this season.
In their front. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think he escapes a lot of criticism. I think Firmino, rightly is getting a lot of flack, but I think Mane is skating under the radar a bit. But look, he doesn't go down. He stays on his feet. It's an issue that's sort of being there. Liverpool, when they go down, it's always called a dive. We even seen it with Salah against Man City when Diaz pulls him back. It's like, oh, he goes down too easy. You know, that narrative is always going to be there, but he should be going down. It was a clear contact, and you know, a bit of a confident team would know and would be putting foot on the throats and all that, and we just don't look that at the moment. But lads, the game goes on, and Avy, I'm going to come to you. We get a very lucky escape where the offside goal that Timo Werner gets. Now, when I say it's a lucky escape, it is offside. It's offside by these new rules, but it's a ridiculous rule to measure an offside by the bottom of a sleeve of an arm. That if the ball goes in here, they're going to be called for handball. So I don't know how you can say you could score with that. But it is correct. But it was an early sign of what was to come, wasn't it?
Yeah, and fair play to Werner. He was getting in behind. I thought he looked really sharp today. You know, everything about his game apart from the goal, he looked really sharp. And, you know, they were trying that ball over the top, whether it was Kante or whether it was Jorginho, they were always lifting the ball up. And again, with the offside, I mean, we won't talk too much of it because it becomes a whole new different issue, but they seriously need to look at this and forget about today. It will hurt in a final. There will be a decision which we may see in a World Cup final or a title clincher where these decisions, if they get it wrong, it's going to fall flat on their face. And today, again, in my eyes, that's a goal. That's a goal all day long. I mean, we all agree. There used to be something, you know, there should be a little bit of space between the attacker and the defender, but that's a goal. Yeah, daylight, that perfectly said, Pete. That was the word, daylight. And that's a goal all day long, lads. If that had happened to us, well, it has happened to us with the Mane, you know, and that was probably a little bit more closer, which is more frustrating. That's a goal all day long. But yeah, I thought Werner, he did well. He was utilizing that sort of left-hand side, wasn't he, with Mount? And yeah, you know, they should have punished us with that goal. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't. But then, yeah, I thought they had better control though in that first half. We were like looking good in patches, but I thought the movement of Mount, you know, floating around that number 10 to the left, he was pretty much amazing today.
Yeah, he was very good. Grizz, it was, you know, the ball over the top after a very early Chelsea were trying it, but they weren't cutting us open. It was nearly like they were just lumping her up. No disrespect to them, you know, they just knew any high ball over was causing us trouble. What did you make of it? Where did you think it was stemming from? Do you think that the defensive line was too high? Did you think it was a lack of leadership? What do you think was the cause of them just getting so much joy?
You know, you said that they weren't really cutting through, or they didn't make them. I think they were cutting through. They just didn't make the most of it because they've got probably a similar striker that's lacking confidence in Werner, like Bobby. I mean, if that was a Tammy Abraham or any of the others, or even Pulisic, I think they would have hurt us more. I'm going to be very honest.
So I was going to cut across you there. What I meant was they were getting through was easy, but it wasn't like, you know, dissecting us when you have players like Ziyech and Mount there. It was just sort of lumped over us, is what I'm saying.
That's what hurts.
It was route one. It was route one.
But that's what hurts, guys.
Yeah.
This is what hurts.
It hurts when you're not organised.
Pete, they didn't have to be great. We're talking about them. They done what they, you know, there were a lot of people. That was the clear instruction. Chelsea played like Burnley, but better.
Well, I thought to be honest, I thought it was more like Aston Villa when Aston Villa beat us 7-2. They were looking for that cross-field transition early to get it in between or in behind our fullbacks very early.
Yeah, but Pete, again, Jurgen Klopp, you are probably playing the two slowest centre-backs we've had, apart from Phillips and Kabak, probably. But the second probably, actually, I don't know. I think Fabinho and Phillips maybe pace-wise pretty much similar, not much in it. But you're playing the two of the most slowest centre-backs, and you're playing an aging THIAGO who's playing non-stop. He wasn't bought to play every single game. I mean, he's aging, Keith. Ginny, who's playing every single game. Curtis Jones is still a kid, right? And you're playing the same midfield, expecting them to have the same intensity in pressing, whilst playing a high line. You're asking for trouble. Vary it. Stop being brain dead. It's brain dead. It's brain dead management. It's brain dead performances. If we drop 5 to 10 yards and play a different tactic. Now, I'm not sat here telling him how to play it, but what I'm saying is what he's playing is not working. So I'm going to say, so, you know, you get people in the chat or people say, well, what would you do if you, tell us how you, that's not my job as a fan. I have opinion and I have to give that opinion to what I think. And that's what's not working, but it's up to him to find a formation, a set of tactics that will work. It was too easy for them. It was way too easy. Straightforward football. And he, at the start of the second half, you could see Tuchel summoning, just play that ball over the top. Play that ball over the top. Simple.
Yeah, Pete, it'll come to you. Like, it wasn't even that was straight over the top. You know, Kabak has come in for a fair amount of criticism recently for his performances. I thought Kabak was actually decent today. I think it was the balls into the channels that were killing us all night.
And that's deliberate. You know, that crossfield ball twice or three times, especially in the first half, really, really hurt us. To be honest, again, Tuchel is smart enough to know if you're not communicating as a back four, or indeed even as a midfield and defensive unit, if you don't communicate and you don't have communicators on the park, you know, you can expose. These are split second things with little spaces between fullbacks and centre halves, and he's looking for, you know, the pace of Werner to get in between, and it unlocked us a few times. Listen, I'm not making excuses, but we're missing our two biggest communicators. We're missing them. They're just not. They're not part of things. And you know what the game is like. That's it's just catastrophic. I mean, normally speaking, for example, when Van Dijk is there or when Henderson is playing, you know, you're talking about Alisson. When we play the high line, Alisson plays like a sweeper. He's coming in, he's cleaning things up, he's confident. I can even see Alisson. You can see yourself kind of betwixt in between, thinking, do I go? He's panicking, and it's making him look.
He's the first goal.
Exactly, and it's making him look like a bad goalkeeper when he's not. He's just, no one's talking. You're seeing it the other week against Leicester. It's just zero communication, and good players look bad. The key is, it's horrible, but just no communication at all.
Yeah, they were getting too much joy, I think, and you know, the communication thing. People in the comments are giving out, you know, excuse. There's a level of excuses. Do you know what I mean? That we can have. You know, the injuries. The thing with the injuries means that you have no consistency from the base of your team, right? And 20 different centre-back pairings in 27 games or whatever it is, or 26 games, it's going to have an impact, right? So there's no consistency there. But we can't keep using excuses. And Pete, you're after touching on something there that I have on my agenda to talk about. Avy, I'll come to you with it. Alisson has gone, you know, I don't know where his head is at the moment with the tragedy that he's just gone through, losing his father in such tragic circumstances. But I've noticed it as well. It's the coming off the line. He seems very indecisive at the moment on when to actually come. You know, is there something you've noticed, or am I reading too much into it?
No, I have too. He hasn't been at his best. The Leicester game was a prime example, wasn't it? Alisson is suffering from not having a Virgil there. Forget about Gomez. Gomez is exceptional as well, in my opinion, and Matip. But the whole defense is suffering without Virgil. Virgil, we forget the aura that he brings. And I said this, I think it was on Carnage a few weeks ago. He is, and people might laugh, he's like the Michael Jordan. When you have such a big presence, Jordan Henderson's our captain. We know that. He's our leader. He leads our team. But Virgil van Dijk has such a presence that people feed off him. The captain feeds off him. You got Trent Alexander on the right, Robertson on the left. They haven't been the same. The numbers are way down, and that of course the injuries with Hendo playing at the back, that's going to make an effect. But without Van Dijk, Alisson's form suffered. You know,
he's everyone's big brother, isn't he? He's everyone's big brother.
He is. Grizz, it's a bit like you and me. You know, you're my big brother. I listen to you, and you know you've got that aura about you. You know, it's true. It literally is true, guys. Van Dijk has that Jordan effect. When, you know, I'm going to quickly have an example. I'll talk quickly about the Chicago Bulls. You had Jordan, you had Rodman, you had Pippen, some great players. But without Jordan, they would never have won the championships. They would never. When he left and he went to baseball, they suffered. And that's what's happening. Literally, that's what happened. When Jordan left at his peak and went to pursue a MLB career, the Bulls didn't get back to the playoffs. They were awful. And they had the best. They had Phil Jackson. They had the Jurgen Klopp in charge too. Exactly like Liverpool. Van Dijk's been missing. And yes, we went through a period where we played good football. We beat the Crystal Palaces. We beat Spurs home and away. You know, we did grind out results. But when it got nitty-gritty, when the games were coming thick and fast during the Christmas period, we're suffering. You know, we're absolutely jet-lagged. We're knackered. You know, as much as we miss Henderson, you know, we've been saying Jota, but I can see this until Van Dijk comes back. I can see this being a continuation, you know, until the end of the season. We are missing Virgil van Dijk.
It's Alisson with Alisson, Keith, and Avy as well. Just, I know you didn't ask me, but I think
I was
it's a very
coming
good
to you
point.
next. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. I thought you might have, but I needed to say it's. You know, like it's when it's a system, and you know, a lot of people talk about Liverpool as system players or a system team. And then when you're continuously not having the parts to that system available, it's almost like Alisson is overcompensating at times, you know, and trying to do things that it's not natural in his game sometimes, because he feels as though he needs to take more responsibility. And for a keeper, there's always a fine line, you know, from being the perfect time to come out or being the wrong time. Do you know what I mean? And it's a case of that. It's a simple case of that. You know, again, he made a magnificent save. It could have been worse, guys. It could have been worse, you know. But I think Alisson is just a straight case of having a different centre-back pairing every single week. There's just no communication there. Leaders missing. For example, today, no Henderson, you know, and the list can go on. No, you know, we know the list. But when you haven't got that consistency of lineup, the understanding, the communication, you've got a Brazilian, a Turk in front of you, and you know, what kind of, they don't know English brilliantly. Fabinho should. But it's hard. It's very, very hard. Even ahead of that, Gini's a quiet player. Gini's a captain by sort of leadership, by example. You know, he's not a leader. He's not a vocal leader. You didn't hear. All I could hear today, guys, was Chelsea players. I could hear Chelsea players shouting and bawling. I couldn't hear our boys.
It's a problem. It's a huge problem.
But Pete, the goal then comes. It's an excellent goal. It's an excellent goal by a very, very, very good player. A player who I thought might have been, you know, Frank Lampard's boy and would end up at wherever Frank Lampard goes. Mason Mount's a serious player, and it's a very good goal.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, Mount is one of those players, and he is one of those players that earns what he's got. I mean, he went down loan, I think, to Derby from Chelsea. And when Tuchel came in to replace Lampard, he wasn't having any of them. If you remember, I think he started. He didn't start the Burnley game. I can't remember. I think it took him 1 or 2 games to get in. Chelsea, they had nobody breaking the lines. They looked a bit sterile. They looked a bit devoid of movement. And Tuchel, I think somebody had a word in his ear, or he had it properly at the videos of what this fella is capable of. He's a serious player. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. I prefer, in these cases, not to criticize our players and to kind of stand
really.
This is a good. Well, look, we were awful, but
no. In that instance,
Grizz, don't worry. I'm going to come to you next, Grizz.
No, I mean, and as I said earlier on about the goalkeeper, you know, that lack of communication, the hesitation has cost you, and the lad has nipped in ahead of him. Granted, but in fairness, Mount is he's moving, he's anticipating, he's there. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. You know, I don't like slaughtering players that have delivered 4 trophies in less than 11 months. But, you know,
yeah, this is the world we live in, isn't it? This is the world we live in, unfortunately. But Grizz, I'm going to come back to you on that, because Pete doesn't want to sort of dole out criticism to any individuals for Mount's goal, but obviously you see it differently. Go for it.
Yeah, well, Dean makes I don't know if you saw that super chat. It starts from there. That's where we need to look at it. So Dean makes a contribution to the channel. Thank you very much, Dean.
Nice one,
and then
Dean.
he says all comes from Bobby not being able to pass the ball 5 yards. Okay, it was about 10-yard pass. But I get his sentiment. I get where he's coming from, because it wasn't a difficult pass, guys. He wasn't being pressed by Kante. He wasn't. Jorginho wasn't on him. He had time. He had turned around. He had the pitch in front of him and the players in front of him. And it's kind of just systematic of the way Bobby's playing, guys. It was a poor pass. It gets intercepted. One zing pass, long ball, call it one, from Kante, who's not really renowned for his long passing. But even he had the vision. Because Kante is a 5-10 yard passer, guys. World-class player. But if he's seeing a pass like that, that means your defensive line, your defensive shape is all over the place. Because Kante doesn't see passes like that normally, unless they're absolutely begging for it. And they were begging for it. So a simple pass, Mount gets it. And I thought Fabinho and Trent were abysmal in their defending of the goal. More so Trent. And I know people are going to say, what? It was Fabinho's man. Trent sees the picture.
Yeah.
Trent sees the picture. Trent knows. Trent's played with probably Mount, you know, at some level, I'm guessing for England, maybe.
Under 21s, maybe.
Trent knows, or should know, if Fabinho's covering him going down the left, you stop him cutting inside. What does Trent do? He doubles up on the other side. And no communication again, lads. Pete, Avy, there was no communication from Trent. So when Trent's running back, he should be saying, show him outside or show him inside. Did you see any of that? I didn't see any of that.
Or did you think? You know what I will say about that? You say they should know each other from England, even less than that. You know, there's enough video analysis that they know. If Mason Mount is playing wide left, that he's always going to be cutting in and cutting.
That's me trying to make an excuse. That's even me trying to make an excuse.
And I think there is that. You know, people will always try and, you know, make excuses for some of the players, which, you know, look, fair enough. They're elite players. They've done the business for us in the past. I think it was just a mess from start to finish. It was.
But again, it comes down to
it
comes down to a lot of these players being brain dead. Now that's a criticism of them, but it's natural. No, but they're tired. They're tired, Keith. Tired minds don't work as fresh. Don't make the right decisions.
But in fairness, Grizz, you mentioned Bobby at the start, and you're right. But the problem, I think, Bobby Firmino's problem is there's no consequence on him personally for his abject, I would say, not bad, but abject performances, and that's not his fault. We haven't adequately covered him. So if you look at even a club like Manchester United, for example, if Martial's not doing the business, he's not out of the team, he's out of the squad. You know, if even Rashford, if he's not doing the business, he's not out of the team, he's out of the squad. With Bobby, I mean, I don't know how many shockers he's had this season. He's probably had more shockers this season than he has in the previous 5 or 6 seasons combined. But there's no consequence to that. None. You know, nobody should be untouchable. And I think that's about, and that play, again, we talk about the psychological side, that plays on him. Sometimes you have to give a centre forward, especially, a reason to perform, a reason to do those little simple things well. At the moment, he looks to me like, it doesn't matter what I do. Even if I try this back heel, it doesn't come off, I'm not going to get, the worst I'm going to get is dragged, but I'll start the next game.
Not even that in this game, Pete. He didn't get dragged in this game.
Well, lads, the goal goes in, right? Chelsea are on top. Second half comes out, and Grizz, you touched on it there a minute ago. You know, you could see what Thomas Tuchel was telling his players coming back onto the pitch. Long ball over the top every time. And the second half starts. It's the second half, is it, with the Kante handball? It is. Avy, I'm going to come to you on this. Did you think that was should have been a penalty, or what did you make of the handball? Are we clutching at straws? Or, you know, and bear in mind, right, if you've played football, right, and I know, Pete, you've played at a good level of football. In your day, it's different. But in today's day, Avy, do you think that's a penalty to Liverpool, or is it just clutching at straws, as we said?
Keith, I'll be honest to you. If I knew what handball was these days, I already don't. At the beginning of this season, they were giving the ball off. I think it was one of the Wolves players, Max Kilman, I think, at Palace, at Selhurst Park. I remember it clearly. When it came off his sort of hand, and they gave the penalty. And today's, no, I wouldn't give that. I wouldn't give that at all. You cannot possibly, and I've seen it with Kabak, actually. Kabak and there was another player today. They literally, when they're defending, they put
THIAGO and Kabak on the goal.
THIAGO, that's it.
It was THIAGO and Kabak on the goal, the two of them.
You can't defend like that. Alberto Moreno used to be guilty of that. When he was at left back, he would defend. And you can't possibly defend like that. You can't, because your positioning, your posture, you just let go. It's a weakness. And the Kante one, what is he meant to do? And literally, he was trying to call it in, but it hits him on the arm. And no, for me, that's not a penalty, but it's VAR. It's like a 50-50. They could have, I think it was Paul Tierney, wasn't it, on VAR duty today? He could have called that a penalty and no one would have blinked an eye. I was watching it on NBC and Graham Lasso thought that was a penalty. But if in my eyes, it would be very harsh if that was given against us. And
we're not getting
we've seen, we're especially us, but we've seen decisions, Peter, like that go against us though. When it's happened to us,
but you know what? That's what I wanted to go to, and Pete will go to you with it. I'll let you run with it. It's not a case, and I'm not talking about it's Liverpool, we don't get them. I'm just more thinking along the lines of the consistency. Some days you're giving them, and some days they're not, and it's just frustrating. Not from Liverpool, like I said, I feel Chelsea were hard done by with the offside goal. But the way the letter of the law is these days, it's the consistency in these decisions that can be frustrating. They seem to change them every couple of weeks when they make a mistake.
Somebody made the point the other day that the referees, I think the PGMOL were lobbying for referees to be clapped onto the park. Yeah. I mean, at any stage of life, in order to receive a round of applause, you have to understand what you're doing. I think it's a basic thing that the referees don't know the rules of the game. And beyond that, I don't mind that as much as I do the lies that are made up. Then I don't know who the lad was, the fat referee who basically Lee Mason, who had an injury for the last 2 or 3 games. There's no accountability. VAR, I said this last week or the week before when we were on with Dicko, VAR is being used now so as the referees can have time to make sure that their decision can't be what they want to do, can't be questioned in the long term. It's not being used to get to the bottom of what is the right or their understanding of the law. It's like, okay, if I go the way I want to go, because they're human beings, is there going to be any consequence on me? I mean, we've seen something, I don't know, Grizz, you might have commented about it last week, the A-League. It's just transparent accountability. They're mic'd up, they're justifying and they're actually turning over their own decisions. You'll never get that in the UK, because the culture in the UK, as you know, and I'm going to say a predominantly white British culture, means that there's no accountability for the status quo, for the system, and that's what you're up against. So they awarded me a tin hat the other week on the show when I said that Liverpool aren't getting them. As it stands, for whatever reason, Liverpool aren't getting them. Plenty of teams that aren't getting them. But each week, the rule seems to change. And guess why? It changes to suit whatever decision that the referee made and to make sure that referees aren't held accountable. It's an absolute joke.
Keith, Peter, just to interrupt, how damning is it, though, that the Australian A-League is more advanced than ours, that there's transparency there, that the referees and audio is talking amongst themselves, the A-League.
Yeah, but see, it's not even damning. What it is, Avy, is they have a different mentality towards the way society is run in Australia. Australia, as you know, was part of a British empire, and once they broke away from that, they have this thing. It's called mateship. Where everybody's equal, and we're all, for richer or poor. That's like the egalitarian system that the French pretend that they have when they really don't. The Australians really do live like that. So it's like, what's fair, it's fair, it's fair, it's fair. If I made a mistake, fair dinkum, I made a mistake, I'm going to say it. The British will never do that. Never.
Indeed. Grizz, I'm going to move off this and I want to go on to the substitution. So on 60 minutes, we see a double change. Around 60 minutes, correct me if I'm wrong, it's usually around 60, so I'm just guessing. It's a double change, and it's Mo Salah comes off and Curtis Jones comes off, and THIAGO Jota and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain come on. What did you make of that, Grizz?
It was the worst decision, one of the worst substitutions that Klopp's made, in my humble opinion. I'm serious, Avy. Why are you No, I'm serious. Humble opinion.
He's made. I wouldn't say today was shocking. Don't get me wrong, but he's made a few
consistent
howlers.
Maybe I'm being slightly reactionary, but only slightly.
I'm agreeing. Right?
It's probably in the top 3 of his worst substitutions, top 4. Awful. Absolutely awful, because I can remember him bringing on Origi and Shaqiri in a couple, and that was easily his worst decisions. But it made no sense to me, Keith, because even though Mohamed Salah didn't look threatening, I don't recall him giving the ball away, maybe once or twice, but not even remotely close. Not even remotely close to the number of times Bobby and Mane gave the ball away.
Well, hang on, Grizz. If you're 1-0 down, you're desperate for a goal. The last person you take off is your top scorer. So Mohamed Salah has been on the fringes of many a game, and popped up at the last minute with a goal. I mean, unless
he's carrying an injury, which clearly he wasn't.
No, because he lost the head. He lost the head coming off.
Lads, look at Ramez throwing a super chat in there. Seeing tweets from journos in the ground saying Klopp bollocked Salah for not tracking back, then turned to Linders to get Jota ready. Shocking if true. You know, if you're not doing your instructions and you're not doing it when you're told, well,
Keith, I agree. Normally, I agree with you. No, I agree with you normally. I agree with what you said. Like in
sentiment.
The sentiment, the example that you've given, I agree that if you're not doing your job, then the manager has every right to pull you off. If I was Mo, I'd argue my job is not to track back when we're losing 1-0 down just because you've got the formation wrong. Don't pin that on me. I'm your fucking top scorer. I've bailed you out not bailed you out, but bailed this team out. And even this season, I've been a one-man goal-scoring machine.
Yeah.
And you fucking chose me to come off in the 60th minute. Now, we know Salah may have that arrogance to say that, but he's not going to say that.
He's earned it.
I'd say he's earned it, Pete, because he must have looked around that pitch and said, of all the players, you've decided to take me off. And we don't know if that's the exact reason why he took him off or whatever. Yeah. But whatever the reason, apart from injury or on the verge of a red card, you do not take off your most lethal goal scorer in the recent history.
It stinks of Benitez taking off Torres against Birmingham. Yeah, and Gerrard sort of what's going on here. It was a bit of one of them. Now, my take on it, lads, is the front three were, I thought, diabolical today. I'm not going to lie. I thought any of them could have been taken off, but I do agree with what Grizz is saying there. You know, the other two were maybe worse, and Salah is more of a goal threat than those. But he's bringing in Jota. Now, that's fair enough. The other side of it, Curtis Jones coming off for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Avy, I'll come to you. What did you make of that? Did you think that one made sense? Do you think Jones was doing enough in the game, or that the Ox could change anything?
I thought Jones was below average today. I thought he was below par. But look, that's not his fault. He's 20 years old. He's learning his trade. He's learning a new position this season. You know, he's become more disciplined, game management. We can talk about when he was younger in the under 18s. He's a completely different player than the one he was a couple of seasons ago for, Gerrard and whatnot. So I thought, bring him off. I was calling that sort of like the 50th, 60th minute, bring him off. But Oxlade-Chamberlain's come on last few games. I know he's missed the last two, but the games beforehand when he was coming on, he wasn't threatening, taking pot shots against West Brom for like 30, 40 yards. And it's no secret that Oxlade will not be here beyond the summer. There is no secret that he will be looking at new pastures come summertime. And if Naby, I look at that bench today, there was no one apart from Jota that I thought, I'd bring on. Even James Milner, if we're winning, you bring him on, close out the game, that, those little niggling fouls that he commits, that in-game management. But there was no one on that bench that I thought, who can come and control that game? And if we're looking for a goal, okay, Jota, but has Jota got 35, 40 minutes in him? He's still, obviously he's come back from injury, so it was unfair to judge him. But today I thought that substitution of Ox was diabolical. And if Naby's on the bench, why are you not playing him? Are you saving him for Fulham for Sunday? Like, what are you doing? The Salah to bring him off, something's not quite right. I think Grizz alluded to it earlier on this season. Something's not right. And especially tonight when Rami Abbas Issa, I'm going to call him out now, his agent has put a full stop. And obviously that's going to cause a whole wave of reactions from Liverpool fans, and course, and that's we can do.
Do you know what? Do you know what, Avy? Let's call it out. When Mohamed Salah performs, which is 99.9% of the time, you know, he's broken every record. It's almost like a fight. I'd say the fella feels like he has to justify everything. I'd say him and his agent cannot believe that he still gets stick. And then when things don't go well for Liverpool, you know, it's all fingers point to Salah. Now, when your manager, whether intentional or not, starts to kind of hang the noose around your neck and say, you know, with that substitution, things aren't going well because you're not going well. That's when you start to think to yourself, you know, I've done everything I can here. I think I'm out. To be honest with you, I wouldn't blame the guy. And people I can't believe that this guy isn't being, you know, when Fernando Torres was, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out with us, you know, they were building statues of him. Mohamed Salah has to justify himself, you know, it seems, and justify his absolute quality. I'm not going to raise any issues as to why I think that is, but it seems that he has to. No, I don't get that.
It's not like you.
If you call him,
no, I won't do it. But I think that guy will go, and then people will whinge, you know, Salah's gone. And then they might actually appreciate what he's brought to this football club.
But
it's
you know what, Pete?
Disgrace.
I just say that it's typical, isn't it? Every stat that's coming out today, this season, it's, you know, Bruno Fernandes has the most goals this season.
Only Salah.
Behind Mo Salah. Harry Kane has the most behind Mo Salah. Everything is behind Mo Salah, and I think we take it for granted. It was a strange substitution. It didn't make sense because he's the most likely to get a goal, whether he's not tracking back or not. He's the most likely to get the goal. To me, the Ox substitution was much worse, because if Naby Keita is fit to be on the bench, the one thing that I felt, the front three were terrible. The midfield I felt were very poor, and weren't getting the ball to them very often. And it's not making an excuse for the front three, but Grizz, I think, touched on it earlier. For a system, the team works as a machine. The machine has to all be working for us to be pouring, and it didn't. Now, the one thing, and I'm going to come to Grizz on this, right? So the one thing, Ox comes on for Curtis Jones. Whether you think Curtis was playing well or not, I think it could have been, again, a toss-up between any of the three midfield players to be replaced. But I felt we needed somebody to press and start maybe adding a bit of intensity into the play in midfield. Grizz, do you feel Keita could and should have come on at that point instead of Oxlade-Chamberlain?
Yeah, I think both of them. Could have come on. I didn't see the need for Milner at that stage. I totally agree. I totally agree when he says Milner, we needed leadership, or sometimes we need leadership on the pitch, and Milner needs to be thrown on in certain situations. Absolutely, he does. This situation didn't need Milner, guys. I can't think of a reason why Naby Keita hasn't been brought on, apart from he's not fit enough, or you know, he's out of favour. I can't, Keith. I can't give you. That's not me being controversial.
No, I agree with you.
I'm just being honest. There is no other reason I can think of. He's been training now for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's been training with the first team for around 2 weeks.
And that's what I wanted to sort of come to you about, Grizz, because it's clearly, you know, Jota is only back in the frame and he's put in. Now, I know, obviously, if you're chasing a goal, but if Naby Keita is training with the, you know, full training for 2 weeks and he's not getting the nod,
I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It doesn't make any sense. THIAGO and Ginny were begging to come off, either one of them, or both of them.
Yeah,
they were dead.
And then, and if you look at the Milner sub, again, we're losing the game. I don't know what Milner is going to really offer at that point. Is he looking for a penalty, and is he looking to get Salah is off? Is he looking to get another penalty taker on? Like, what do you think about that as well? Like,
I think scrambled thinking by then. Keith. I think the thinking becomes scrambled. I honestly, we need this season to end ASAP. Honest to God, guys, we just need to wrap this season up and just start totally fresh. Champions League, yeah, man. If we win it, fucking glory. If we don't, who gives a shit, man? Honestly, at this stage, the league, look, there was a super chat earlier from my Norwegian fan club.
Yeah.
And they ask about the top four, chances of top four. You know, I've said it to you guys in private in the WhatsApp. You know, if he makes top four, I do regard it as one of his all-time achievements. I honestly do. With the state of the season in terms of his injuries and the personal tragedies throughout his life and Alisson's and the squad getting COVID, all that, if he gets this set of players into the top four, it will be probably in his top three achievements, I think. Top four achievements. I don't see it, lads. I'm not being negative. I don't want to be throwing the towel in. I'm just giving my honest opinion. I don't see us getting top four.
I'll jump in and say, I said this a few weeks ago on a pod as well. I think Klopp and the players have checked out this season. And while Grizz is saying we want this season to be over with, you know, rival fans will lap that sort of thing up and be saying, you can't take this, you can't take that. You know, this has just been the perfect storm of shite that we've had this year. It's been the annus horribilis for Liverpool, and I think, you know, Klopp just wants to get them and recharge the batteries and do all that. But look, the game goes on, and I touched on Avy Pete not coming on there, Pete, and I felt Chelsea were just passing their way through a non-existent press. It was so easy for Chelsea in that game as it went on, from the kick-outs from the keeper, everything short, and you know, they were just walking through us. You know, it just doesn't look like the heart is in it at the moment for Liverpool players, does it?
No, to be honest with you, you know, some players need to be facilitated. I always feel a player like Keita needs a fully functioning Wijnaldum and Henderson, for example, or THIAGO, who uses the ball very well and compensates for other people's, you know, 5-10 yard wandersomes. If you throw Avy Pete into a midfield that's not pressing, you know, he's don't get me wrong, he's fantastic in possession himself, but when he loses the ball or when things get turned over, it you know, the numbers are purely against you. I agree with Grizz to a certain extent. It could be a fitness issue, but then you wouldn't. He normally, Klopp, if it's a fitness issue, he won't strip him. You know, he won't put him on that bench at all. I just think tactically he probably puts us down numbers, if you will, without the ball. Without the ball, without a fully without Henderson, without a fully functioning Wijnaldum, we're in a lot of trouble. And he just adds to it. I mean, THIAGO, yeah, I made the point a couple of weeks ago. I'm not in a position to criticize a player like THIAGO. THIAGO is a wonderful player, but we are not at the level to facilitate what he does. Yeah. We are not good enough for him. That's the bottom line. There's lots of people, THIAGO this, he needs to be this. We are not good enough for him to play in this side. We're not fit enough. We're not functioning. We're not hungry enough. There's no leadership there. We're just not good enough for him right now. I hope we can, you know, next season we'll see the better of him when we are. But no, I think Keita, you throw him in and we lose 2 or 3 now, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's it. It's easy to put Keita on a pedestal, you know what I mean? He's good at what he does. Some people are saying he's our most creative midfielder.
But this is Pogba talk. It reminds me of the way United fans talk about Pogba. His potential to do it.
Illusion.
It's about, have a look at the game. Have a look, as you said, Chelsea are cutting through you like you're not even there. You know, you can be the most creative player in the world, but if you can't stop that, you're losing games. You know?
And it's so true, you know. As I say, it's too easy. They're walking through us. Grizz, Jurgen Klopp doesn't come out of this game without a fair amount of criticism. If we're all being honest, none of us want Klopp out. We've said that already. But are you worried about, not about his mental state? I'm not judging the man's mental state at all, but you know, his head for these games, are you sort of worried that it's just not in it? You know, constantly playing a 4-3-3, constantly doing the same things that aren't working. Where do we go? What does he do? What does he need to do?
It's crucial that he doesn't completely lose it, sort of from a mental fatigue point of view. And obviously, we just don't know how he's taken the personal tragedy of his mother. So we can't go into sort of trying to understand his mindset, because only he knows how he feels and how that's affected him. What we can sort of vaguely give our opinions on is sort of how it appears, right? So there's no definitives, there's no certain answers we can say for sure. But excuse me, he looks like he's mentally absolutely fatigued with this season. He's fed up. I think a simple word or a simple couple of words to use would be fed up. He looks fed up, Keith. I don't know about you guys. I don't know what you guys think, but he genuinely does with everything. The way he speaks about sort of never in his career has he had so many injuries in one position.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
He's never had to change the back line in his career so much as though he has this season. And that can be tiring. It becomes, there's only so much you can do, you know, with that side of things. But that being said, this is, and I've criticized Pep Linda's recent weeks. I've blown loads of smoke up his arse in the past, and rightly so, because he's you can tell he's a fantastic tactical side of coach, and you know, and he's done wonders for this team. The players apparently love him. But it's times like this, guys, that you need a strong number two. And just to take the pressure off the boss. Now, we don't know if he is or what if he's doing. And we know the relationship Klopp had with Buvac over the years, and it was so close. And Buvac sort of helped him through so many situations. I think the number two or someone in the coaching staff or a senior member of the coaching staff just needs to just help out Klopp a bit more, I think, especially in terms of press and media duties. It's crucial, I think. Just give Klopp, get him away from the press, get him away from the media. Pep Linda speaks wonderfully well. Bore them to death with tactical talk, Pep. Yeah. Go on. No, seriously. Get in front of the cameras and talk shit for 20, 30 minutes and just leave Klopp out of it. Even if it's shit, because to us, it's going to sound like shit at the moment. Because when you're losing, tactical geniuses sound like shut the fuck up. But when you're winning, it's like, whoa, we've got tactical geniuses running our club. I think Klopp needs a break. It won't come because there's 11 games to go.
They're all looking for sound bites off him as well, you know, and you need to take him.
And he's giving it. And he's giving it.
He's an emotional man. He's an emotional character. It's what makes him brilliant, in my opinion.
He's like me. Me and him are pretty much the same.
But you look at Pep Guardiola. When Pep Guardiola's not winning, you know, he's goes off the head.
Keith, is he there?
You just had a little bit of interruption. Shall I take over a little bit?
No, we want your opinion on Klopp and the situation.
It's obvious that Klopp looks a shadow of himself. You know, obviously, ever since, you know, what's gone on this season. I think even before, you know, sadly, his mother's passing, he looked a shadow of himself. And we know when Klopp switches off after the season, he really switches off. He will go Marbella, he'll go Spain, he'll go Vegas, and he will really let loose. You know, you'll see him. You'll see pictures with him wearing those sombrero hats and having beers and whatnot. And he hasn't had that last season. You know, he hasn't had that this season. This team they haven't been able to really celebrate what they've achieved. Remember, you know, after 31, 32 years, they've won the league. You know, they've won number 19, and they haven't had the chance to express their emotions with fans. They haven't had the bus parade, because we all know it would have been one hell of a party, and that's going to affect him mentally. And remember what we say. There's a saying, I think Linda said it once, our intensity is our identity. But that comes with energy. That comes from fans. All four corners of Anfield. He feeds off that. It brings out the best in Klopp, and he hasn't had that from the back end of last season, and he hasn't had that at all this season. He feeds off energy. He feeds off magnetic fields. He feeds off the fans. And when he doesn't get that, you're not going to see him at full optimum. That's why as soon as we get fans in, as soon as we did, you know, when we had the 2,000 fans in Anfield, you could see a different vibe from Klopp. You know, he seemed his old self again with these little quirky 1-2s with the media. But as soon as, again, lockdown happened again back home, he was, you know, back on the, you know, biting back at the media and whatnot. And he just wasn't, you know, he's a shadow of himself. So he needs a huge break. He wasn't able to get out of the country last summer. This summer, hopefully he gets to go away, recharge his batteries and come back.
Yeah. But lads, before we finish up, right, I want to just say, give credit to Chelsea. I want to get your opinions on Chelsea and the work Tommy Tuchel is doing there. Pete, I'll come to you first. What did you make of them tonight? They're a good team.
Look, I think Tuchel is smart enough. He's not the oldest coach in the world, but he's smart enough to see where we're weak and completely exploit it. Whereas, you know, it's a good appointment for them. Whereas someone like Frank Lampard, it goes to show you, you know, with all that money spent, it's not really about the money. It's about what you do with it and what you get from the players and what your ability is, and have to hand it to them. And it's ironic. I think the young players that were there already, the young fullback they have, whose name escapes me, the right back, Reece James, Mason Mount. I think that these are the better players, not the Kai Havertz who can barely get into the team, and the team of Ernest. I think the players that were already there goes to show you. But I think Chelsea have 39 players out on loan at about 17 clubs. God knows what's out there in their name. So no, I think he's done a good job, and they might be on their clawing their way back. I think if they get themselves a top class centre forward and a top class centre back, yeah, they might be back in the reckoning sooner rather than later.
Grizz, I know you're not really a fan of Chelsea. Neither am I, to be honest. But
I hate them.
And Gav isn't a fan of Thomas Tuchel. But what do you think? Do you like what he's doing there? Does he have the bones to make a good team there?
Yeah, I'm totally. Don't mention me and Gav in terms of situations with regards to Tuchel. I think he's a wonderful coach. Gav doesn't like him. I hate Chelsea as a club. I hate Chelsea, and you know that anyway. But I think Tuchel is a wonderful coach. He may come across like a knobhead. I don't give a shit. Who cares? That doesn't interest me, or he shouldn't really interest Chelsea fans. They've got themselves a far more. A far better coach than Lampard, and they're seeing the results of it. Yeah, they're seeing it now. We didn't ever look like penetrating them. They set up. Basically, maybe he adjusted. What did he do different? He rested Werner and thought Werner would be ideally suited to play against us. Not tactical genius, but whatever he's doing, it's working. They've got 6 clean sheets out of 7, I believe, something along those lines. And I think they get top 4 in my opinion, ahead of us. And good luck to them. Not really. They can fuck off. But Tuchel is a very good coach in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm going to be honest. I don't like Chelsea, and I'm not a huge fan of Tuchel either. But I think it will improve Chelsea because I think he is a tactically astute manager. He's better than Frank Lampard. He will get a song out of the players they have there. And as Peter touched on, if you can bring in an elite centre forward, because Chelsea are going to spend on players, whoever they can get on board, they will spend to get them. Avy, do you see them getting top 4 over us? Do you think we can both get top 4? Where do you see the season going from? I was going to say Peter and out, but where do you see the season going for the teams tonight?
Yeah, I said as soon as Tuchel came into Chelsea, I do rate him. I think he is a good coach. I think they will get top 4. I said that as soon as he became manager, that they'll get top 4. I've said it for the last few weeks now. Unfortunately, I don't see us getting into top 4, but I'm more than adamant, and you can call it whatever, you can call it blind faith, but we're winning the Champions League this year.
Hopefully. And the key to be positive, there's a lot of negativity going around. If you remember, somebody made the point, it could have been Grizz or Gav 6 or 7 months ago.
Was it a good point? If it was a good point, it was me. If it was a shit point, it was Gav.
Well, I think that's the point. We're making the point that, a lot of tier 1 / in between tier 1, tier 2 players are frightened to come and sign for Liverpool because they're absolutely flying. To be honest with you, if you're a top player out there, maybe the pressure is off a little bit and you're thinking to yourself, I fancy going in there and making a difference. Sometimes these things can be quite healthy. It never did Manchester United too much harm in the past when they had the odd dip. They just went out and were still able to attract top players. I can actually see us, still, as long as FSG are prepared to spend, and Gav tells me they are, attracting top players. They'll want the challenge now. Therefore.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about the top 4, I don't think it's out of reach at them. Like, we're not doing, I'm not trying to make out that we're going to win. What I would say is if Liverpool can put anything together, you're looking at Everton, West Ham, Leicester. I think we can overhaul them teams if we put it together. Listen, that's me, the optimist.
It's not. I get your optimism and I get where you're coming from in a normal season.
Oh yeah, it's not a normal season, and Liverpool are not putting the wins together. So
there's no point looking at the table. I honest to God, my advice is just advice. Everyone do what they got to do, right, to get through to the end of the season. But what I'm doing, right, and my advice would be forget looking at the table every weekend or every game week. Just focus on who you're playing and try to win a game of football, especially at home. And then see where it ends. Honestly, God, you guys will go mad if you keep looking at the table. Next fixtures. Oh, well, look, we've got blah, 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 blah. And they've got... Why are you laughing?
No, because what you're saying is you're making sense. It's absolute torture. That's what I'm laughing.
It's torture. We've got to do it, Avy. Look, forget about looking at... Do you remember when we used to look at the next set of 3? Keith, do you remember we used to do so many shows where we used to look at fixtures? We used to look at block of fixtures of 4. All right, the next one. Fuck all that. That's gone out the window.
That's
Forget
gone this
all
season.
that. You just see who we're playing next week. See who's fit.
Yeah.
Get a decent lineup. Play your game. Forget about everything else. Just reach the end of the season with no more injuries. The big boys coming back, and then we talk when we got the full army behind us. If we get Champions League, hallelujah.
Yeah.
But fuck this season in terms of the league.
It's a diabolical season, but I'm still saying we can get top 4 because everyone else is shit except for Man City. Look, lads, we're going to finish it up. Before we do finish, I just want to mention, for our subscribers, we're looking to get ourselves up to the 10,000 subscriber mark. We're going to do a giveaway. We haven't really, decided what it'll be yet, but we're going to do a big giveaway. Spread the word. If you like what we do, if you're in the chat and you like what we do, but you don't subscribe, just hit that bell icon. You get a lot of content. You won't regret it, but we will, it helps us grow this channel. The more subscriptions we can get, if we can do that. So if we can get to the 10,000 quickly, we're going to have a nice little giveaway for someone. And it's something that I think people will enjoy.
Keith, you said you're not sure what the giveaway is. I've got some, because ITK, the resident ITK of the Trippers. I've got some tier 1 inside information. The giveaway is fucking superb. I'm not going to lie. It's a superb giveaway. That's tier 1, lads.
Yeah.
It's tier 1.
But that it is going to be good. So listen, subscribe, spread the word, get it out there, and let's see, if we can get those subscriptions up, because we're biased, but we think we put out good stuff. You know what I mean? We put out fair, balanced takes on Liverpool. To get beaten, they're being garbage. We'll try and come on and be fair about it. So spread the word, get people liking, get people subscribing, and it will be brilliant. And before we do finish up, I know Chris is going to be on tomorrow with another Friday forecast, so tune into that and support the lads on that one. Before we go, lads, have you something to say, positive, negative, whatever? I'll give you all a little soapbox. Peter, I'll start with you.
No, listen, we've taken 198 points in 2 seasons. Anyone that thought, we weren't going to have a crash is beyond crazy. Nobody expected it to go like this, but things that going at the rate we were going are not sustainable. We'll have our little lull. We get into August, get a couple of new boys through the door. We need to sharpen up top, bring the injured players back and freshen things up in midfield, and we'll be fine.
Excellent. Avi, what about yourself?
Yeah, one word: Istanbul. So love.
There you go. I love your optimism. Grizz, final word to you.
Yeah, not much positivity from me. I'm not gonna, I can't be a cheerleader tonight. Tonight is very. I can't do it. I can't do it tonight. It's difficult. Honestly, I can't.
It is so hard.
Look, if champions like Klopp seem despondent in front of the media tonight, and players like Robbo telling home truths, apparently I haven't seen the quotes, but a lot of people telling me Robbo was brilliant in front of the media, well, then it's very difficult for fans to sort of shed some positivity on the current situation. It really is a case of just getting through this season, getting all our players fit, fingers crossed, everything. Pray to whatever God you believe in, or if you don't believe in a God, send positive vibes so we get all the players back and we get ready to go again. And FSG and Klopp and Co will be hurting, lads. They will be seething with the way this season's gone. And there's no doubt we will come again. There's absolutely no doubt. We're not going away, like in terms of future league title races next season. But this season's been a bit of a bad experience, and let's just try and put it behind us. Oh, madness. Yeah. So look, let's just see where we can end up. And all right, if Avi says Istanbul it is, because I love Turkish food. So I'll be there, mate. I tell you, even if I can't get into the grad, which obviously you can't, it's lockdown. Oh no, you might be able to. Oh.
It's that Ataturk as well, isn't it? Because they've been swapping the venues.
So there'll be fans. So there'll be fans allowed and everything, right?
Well, Grizz, you won't be, but yeah, I'll be sure to make a trip there. Yeah.
There you go.
Why won't I be? Oh, because of the American visa business.
You're banned in a few countries, aren't you?
Yeah, not Turkey. Turkey's one of my
Turkish brethren are okay with you.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I'm all right with the Turks.
And we'll leave it at that. Grizz can't, international diplomat. Look, this has been the Red reaction. It's been another miserable night for the Reds, but we'll move on and we'll see what comes of it. We'll see us all again soon. Take care.
Absolutely.